Okay, so the final part of this model in Maya here is attaching the ear to the rest of the head. And so this tutorial can be really helpful too for just kind of all facets of modeling here, because there's going to be a lot of times where you want to combine objects and kind of weld them together into the same object. Now, you don't always need to do that. If you have a character that's wearing a helmet or anything like that, even hair a lot of the time, you don't need to do this step of combining into one object. Again, the way I always think about this is if what you're modeling was being manufactured, would it be one object or would it be two? In this instance, an ear, is part of the head, so this is an instance where it would be welded together. But even here, I would make a different model if it's a stylized character. A hat, definitely different. So it's different under different circumstances. But here we're going to attach this ear to the rest of the head. And so first thing I need to do is I'm going to switch to my front view, and I'm going to delete out half of the head here because I want to be able to just kind of have less going on that I have to contend with during this process. And so I'll select the left side of the faces like so, zoom in a little bit, again using Option in the middle mouse button and the right mouse button to kind of zoom in and navigate around. That looks like a clean selection, so I'll delete that. And I'll just kind of double check my work here. Okay, so half the head's deleted. And then I'll attach the ear and then mirror the geometry over. That's the kind of grand scheme here. And I'm going to turn on the wireframe just so you all can see each model. Okay, so one step that I forgot to do with the ear is I needed to extrude it out and make it three-dimensional. It's a two-dimensional ear right now. And so the best way to do that here is I'm going to bring back the head, and I'm going to get an idea of how I want to combine these two things together. So I'm going to move this up. I'm going to switch to my side view. Just line it up a little bit. So in the grand scheme of things, this vertex is going to touch there, this one there, this one there, this one there. Okay, so I think this is going to line up pretty well. And so I'm going to wait to smooth the ear. I'm finding looking at this. Sometimes I need to smooth the ear and then attach it after that, but I think a low res is going to work in this case. So I'm going to hide the head. I'm going to work on kind of filling in the back of this ear. So I'll right click and go to edge mode. I'm going to select that outer loop, except for the faces that I want to connect to the skin here. And I just need to remind myself, all right, so this lobe right here is going to lift off, but that, and that. So those three faces right here. If I can switch to this object. So, oh my gosh. Let's hide that, get out of the way. So this face, and this face are going to kind of attach to the head, and then everything else is going to attach in the back. That's my plan. So I'm going to go to edge mode, and I have the right edges selected. So select starting there, going clockwise, and then ending in the lobe there. This will get filled out later. And I'm going to extrude. Let's see what happens if I keep it in local mode. That looks good. So I just did local mode and then just use the blue arrow, not the blue box, but the blue arrow to push it in a little bit. So for that extrusion, that looks great. Okay. So I'll press Q. to get out of that, make sure I don't extrude again. And then here, with that same edge selected, so if I could just go back to edge mode, the edge should remain selected from where I had extruded before, but you can kind of see, I'm looking at the back side of the ear and it's going around to there. So you can kind of see the edge that I have that I'm going to extrude next. So I'm going to extrude again. This time, instead of the arrows, I'm going to use the boxes. Let's see if I can get it working at all. Oh, interesting. So in this case, it looks like the blue arrow is what's working for me. So I'm just trying to drag it in and kind of close this thing off. So I'll press W to pull out of that, and then I'm just going to drag it out a little to the side so I can just kind of see my work a little better. Okay. And so here it's a little bit of a mess. So I'm going to do that tool where I scale it to flatten it out. Do you see that? So it's the right to left scale. So I'm pressing R to scale, grabbing that rightmost scale box, dragging it from right to left, and it flattens it out. So it just makes it a little easier for me to see this, see what's going on. So I'll press Q, right click, go to vertex, and here I'm just going to do a little bit of cleanup. Notice how I'm using the arrows. I'm kind of doing this in the perspective mode, and so I'm using this arrow and this arrow, and I'm never grabbing it from the middle and pushing it. I only grab it from the middle in the orthographic view. Okay. So the reason I extruded it out so far, or pulled it out so far, is just because this ear hole is distracting me a bit, and I wanted to kind of get it out of the way. One thing I can also do is I can select these faces in the ear hole, and then I'm not going to extrude it, I'm just going to move them in a little bit so that they just get out of my way. Move it closer in. It didn't need to be as deep as I had it in the last tutorial there. I mean, I guess that was probably a little more accurate, but, you know, not necessary either. Okay, so right click and go to edge. And that same edge is still selected from before, but as you can see, it's this edge right here. I had just pulled it out solely so I could just kind of see what was going on. So I'm going to push it back in a little, and it is going to need to kind of go like this to kind of fit the shape of the back of the ear. And so from here I have to go back into vertex mode. I'm not being the most efficient right now. That's okay. So now I need to get it so this geometry isn't overlapping. So I'm going to press 4 to go into wireframe mode. My computer's starting to bog down, and I'm trying to select that vertice, and it's hard to see in the normal shading because it is being overlapped. So I'm getting to a stage here where I press a button, and about 3 seconds later Maya does it for me. I had Premiere open, so I'm gonna just, that was silly of me to have Premiere open in the background. I should know better than that. Let's see. So I'm going to quit Premiere and quit some of this other software. Okay, hopefully that'll help some. All right, so I'm just shaping this in to be the inner ear, or the back side of the ear, I should say, and have it avoid the inner ear. So I'm going to press the 4 button to find wireframe, because sometimes it can be hard to find this stuff with shaded, but then I always move it right back to shaded because I find the wireframe view pretty confusing. on a more complex model, since you're seeing the front and the back of the model at the same time. That gets to be a bit much. Again, I'm not being the most efficient right now, but okay. So I kind of built out the back of the ear. I'm gonna bring back the visibility of the back of the head. And in the back here is kind of where I'm going to tie up some loose ends. If some triangles end up back there, I'm not too worried. I'm going to try to avoid triangles, but again, the back of the ear, inside the ear are great places if you're going to have triangles to, you know, make that compromise. So on the head, I'm going to hide my ear just because I'm having trouble selecting the head with the ear on. Oh my god. So it's this face, that face, and that face I want to delete. So I'm going to delete those faces. So I right-clicked and went to face mode, and then I found the 3 faces right here that I wanted to delete so I could attach the ear. So I'm going to bring back the visibility of the ear. I'm going to name it my outliner. And so here I'm going to start thinking about combining this. I think for a game plan, I'm going to need another edge loop inside of my head here. So I'm going to go to Mesh Tools, break out that menu, go to Insert Edge Loop. Remember that edge flow should be on. And I'm just going to create a division here because I think this is going to help me sew my ear on to this thing. Okay, so let's start combining these things. So that's kind of all the setup to get this thing ready to start combining into one object. And so the first thing that I need to do to combine 2 different objects is I need to hold down Shift, select both of these objects, and then under Modeling Toolkit, right here, top left, click Combine. Whoa, let's see here. Okay, it went crazy the first time. I'm not sure if you saw that, it turned green. And then I tried it again and it worked. And so I'm not sure why that happened. But so now in the outliner, these 2, their history is there. You can see their history up here, but you can see Maya thinks of this as one model, even though they're not really attached in any spot. And they need a lot of cleanup here. And so this is a process that requires, you know, you to be kind of clean in your work. And, you know, it's a little tricky, but it's not too bad. So I'm going to right click and go to vertex. So I did step 1. And step 2 is to snap the vertices together. And then step 3 is to merge the vertices once you snap them. So to snap the vertices, I press W to kind of enable the move tool. I'm going to snap this vertex to that one right there. So I'm going to hold down V, V as in vampire, and then drag it from the middle. And it should just snap right into place. And there, I'll press Q to just kind of get out of the move tool. And I'll just do a drag and select like that to make sure both of these vertices get selected, because again, these are 2 vertices in the same spot. You see, I just dragged it and it just moved it right out. So they're not welded together yet, they're just one vertex. So it's important that you don't just click and merge. You need to do a drag and select like this to grab both vertices. Press 4 just to make sure I didn't select any in the back, because it needs to, if I selected, let's just say I selected all those vertices right there and press merge, I would have some problems. So I just need to drag and select like that, make sure I'm just combining the 2 that are in the same place, and then the merge button. So step 3 is this merge button right here. So again, step 1 was combining the two models by selecting them in objects mode and then going down to combine. Step 2 is snapping vertices together, holding down V to just snap them into the same position. And then step 3 is to drag and select like that, two vertices that are in the same spot, and then press this merge button right here where my cursor is, or I'll go up to Edit Mesh and Merge. And so I'll click that, and once it merges, this distance threshold menu will show up. Okay, so that one's together. So next up, I'm going to do the reverse. The vertice that you want to move is the one, figure out which one where you like its position, and then find which one you want to move. So I like the position of this vertice, so I'm going to move this one to snap it. So I'll hold down V, snap it in, drag and select, and merge. So kind of once you get used to it, it goes pretty darn quick. Oh, be sure that you have it in move mode before you try the V shortcut. The V shortcut doesn't do anything unless you're in this move mode with the arrows there. So hold down V, snap it in, drag and select. I'll check, make sure I didn't select any other vertices. Merge it together. And then here, it's really tricky not to have any overlapping vertices or overlapping mesh, especially when your computer is going as slow as this one. That is kind of my fault though for running Premiere. Okay, should definitely know better than that. So here I'm going to press W, snap this vertice, so hold V to snap. I'm gonna have some weird overlapping stuff that I'll just have to fix in a moment. I like to go into wireframe mode before to drag and select and then do the merge, because it's just best way to know that you're not doing some kind of weird overlap. But otherwise, I pretty much always work in shaded mode. Okay, so I have some weird overlapping stuff I need to fix, which is unfortunate. Okay, so looking at this, it's good not to get too jump the gun and move the wrong vertex around to fix the issue that I have. So I can see here that this face is my problem. So I'm going to select that whole face, which is going to move a bunch of vertices at the same time. Just kind of get this out of my way. Really pretty tricky stuff here, I have to say. So usually combining meshes, one thing to keep in mind, is not going to be as complicated as this. This is combining an ear onto the head is pretty darn tricky, you know, so just kind of keep that in mind and don't let that get you overly concerned about this process in terms of just generally speaking, combining two meshes. Because usually when you're combining a mesh, you know, it depends what you're modeling, but it's just not going to be this complicated. Oh my gosh, my computer is going so slow. I'm going to save this. I'm going to see if I can force quit anything. Nope. Okay. I'm using QuickTime to screen capture. Sometimes screen captures can take up a fair amount of CPU, so it's kind of causing, it's kind of a running theme, I guess, with these tutorials. So I had to move my earlobe a little bit, so I'm just trying to kind of reposition everything. Try to get this model kind of organized back into a position again. Normally what I do, and I should have done it this time, is I got a little too greedy here and I tried to just attach the ear right into the position it would normally go into. And normally what I do is I kind of attach the ear out here and give myself some room to maneuver in here, and then I'll just grab all the vertices in the ear and fix it after the fact. So let me just see if I can get myself back to working in that mode again. It's probably not going to work, but so do Control Shift to do drag and select. Oops, that was not Control Shift that I just did though. And I'm just going to navigate in to make sure I'm not deleting any bad faces. So this is what I mean. I just pull the ear way out like this, and so that way it's just I can see what I'm doing, and then I'll just move it back into the correct position once I'm done kind of sewing things together. So this will just be a little bit of an easier way to work. I normally do it this way, and I think I just got a little greedy there, hoping I could just model it right into place. Modeling with a delay is hard, I'm finding. So what I need to do here oops. Yeah, I've got about a 3-second delay every time I do something. And normally I would restart, but I got a tutorial running. Okay, so I think I have this thing back into a position where I can start thinking clearly again on this. And so one thing I might do is for the inner, would that work? All right, so what I'm going to do here is on the head, I need to give myself a little more geometry to work with to kind of bring these things together, because I have a lot of edges here that need to be sewed. So far I've just sewed together 3 faces, and I think I need a little more geometry in the head in order to kind of match the geometry in the ear. So I'm going to go to Insert Edge Loop, give myself even one more edge loop here to work with. And now I'm just going to go clockwise or counterclockwise and snap some vertices and start merging some things here. So W, V, snap, and I'm going to wait. Nah, I'm going to go ahead and merge this. Let's see. So 4 to kind of see a wireframe, drag and select and merge them together. It's merged. Press 5 again. So it's those steps over and over again. Maya's just really not cooperating with me today. So V. I'm going to try edit delete by type history and see if that helps this thing run a little smoother. Okay. Normally I would just restart and not even give it a second thought, but again, kind of have this thing rolling. Okay, so edit delete by type history sometimes helps out if your computer's chugging and you're in the modeling process. So I'm just kind of going around the back of the ear here and just trying to merge this thing up, if you can see that. And again, it looks crazy because I move the ear all the way out there, but I would rather give myself some room to kind of see inside here and just select all these vertices and drag it in when I'm done. So I'm just going to keep moving and snapping here. So hold down V. Eventually, maybe, oh, there we go. Maya recognizes that I pressed V. Snap it into place. Drag and select. See, I just selected 2 by mistake there. So drag and select and then merge. So I'm going to start from the bottom now and start doing the bottom and then just kind of meet in the middle. So again, I'm just doing the V button, drag and select and merge over and over again. So if you see me kind of being, or hear me being a little silent while I'm working here, apologies for that, but it's the same thing over and over again that I'm doing. So now I'm working counterclockwise, kind of moving up from the bottom of the ear, because I want to make sure that this seam looks good and this seam looks good. Don't want any quads here if I can, or tries. And if I have any tries, I would rather it be back here in the middle of the back where no one will, people definitely won't see it back there. So again, just drag and select. Press 4. Merge them together. Press 5 again to move back to normal. So I'm going to go back to the top again, snap that. And press 4, Q, drag and select, then press merge, 5, I'm just going to grab these 3 vertices and pull them up a little closer to the ear. So I want that room to maneuver, but also need to be able to see. So looking at the bottom, I'm going to snap this vertex to this one right here. So I'll hold V, snap it into place, 4, drag and select, and then merge, 5, V to snap, press 4 to see wireframe, drag and select, and then merge, 5, go back to normal view. And so I'm gonna have some extras back here. So this will be a fun exercise for me. So when this happens, this is just comes down to a bit of problem solving. Just kind of knowing that I can live with some tries and just going to try to work this out some. So this vertex is going to, I'm going to just mentally thinking this out. I'm going to combine that vertex in and use the multi-cut tool. I'm going to draw on this vertex here. And I'm sure your ear probably won't look exactly like this, but this is an example of how to try to problem solve. Merging two meshes here that don't, match up exactly in terms of their geometry count. So I kind of made that to make 2 tries. That's going to give me a little more room to maneuver back here, because I don't want 5-sided polygons. That's just the main thing. So I'm going to find the middle vertices of both of them. Hold down V. If I hold it down for 10 minutes, maybe it'll see it. Okay, there we go. So I snapped it into place, and then I'll press 4 to see the wireframe. Drag and select, and then merge, and then 5 again. So here, I have a try there. Yeah, this is definitely messy. This is one of my messiest years I've done. Okay, so if I combine that there, let's try that. So press W, then V, snap it into position. So now I have 2 tries and a quad. I'm actually going to be able to, I think I'm going to be able to turn this into something good here. So I'll drag and select, and then merge. And so your ear, undoubtedly is going to be a little different than this, in terms, so you're not going to be able to follow step by step, I would imagine. But again, this is more about showing the process here. So here I have 1, 2, 3, 4. So hypothetically, this bottom one, if I just position a little bit, right click, go to edge, hold down shift and select the 4 edges. If I press bridge, oh, selected the wrong edge because my computer is terrible. 4, just to see 5. Okay, so hopefully if I bridge here, there we go, it merged together. So I have a quad there, a try, and then a quad up here. So I didn't press that. Okay. Gonna save again in case this crashes on me. So right click, make sure you're in edge mode. And by the way, this process I'm doing is not, it shouldn't slow down your computer. My computer's just really mad at me that I had Premiere open. So this process itself isn't too labor intensive on your computer, or it shouldn't be. This is just kind of a awkward situation today. So anyway, I selected those edges right there and pressed bridge, and I have those bridged together. This is definitely still on the sloppy side. And, you know, if I'm going to have a sloppy area, the back of the ear would be it. I can at least get this down to one triangle here, I believe. If I go into edge mode, and then select this edge, and then delete it. The polygonal flow is awful in here, but it's at least quad, 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 triangle. In the back of the ear, and the front of the ear is watertight. And then the lobes are kind of connecting in a way that I like up here. So things are looking good. We got a nice little Shrek here. And just saving. And so to move the ear back into position, I'll right click and go to vertex. Drag and select the whole ear right there. You see how, since I dragged it out, it's all kind of out there in position and easy to make the selection. Then using the front view and the perspective view and kind of concert together, I'll just drag and select. And since I have all the vertices selected, this is probably a good opportunity to kind of rotate the ear if I need to. Just rotate it out a little as a whole if it needs any kind of adjustments. And then move everything into place. Yeah, I got real messy in the back of the ear here. That's definitely some of my worst work, I have to say. But here, I could just kind of continue to do some fixes in this section. If my computer was working at all, I would be more inclined to fix that area. So the way to fix that, you see how this edge, I kind of used it and it kind of got pulled into the back of the ear here. So the way to fix this, in my mind, would to use the multi-cut tool and kind of massage some of this area so that it works a little bit better. I could also do the, let's add another edge loop here. And then use the multi-cut tool to connect it. It's not doing the whole edge loop because there is a triangle in there, kind of breaking it up a little bit. So that's a good example of why you generally don't want triangles. And you can see here that when you have a triangle, it kind of causes this, there's just one triangle in here. Really kind of causes a bit of a mess for me. But rather than retopologize the whole thing, what I might do is kind of start towards the edges of the ear, pulling these vertices up so that it rounds off in the back. Oops, a little bit better. Okay, I kind of give up because my computer is just really not working here. But the idea here is I would just be dragging vertices to kind of pull this in and fix this up. And I might use the multi-cut tool to redraw some topology in there to clean it up. But the idea there is attaching the ear is going to require a little bit of Rubik's Cube work on your part. the back of the ear is the area to get a little messy. This is extremely messy here. But one good thing you can do here to kind of check your work is save, save. And normally I would kind of keep working on this to massage that area, but I want to kind of keep this tutorial moving. And so, but this is really important here, this next step. To double check your work, just go to, so we've kind of gone over this before, but you go to Mesh, Cleanup, Options box right next to it. So Mesh, Cleanup, and then Options box. And then I'm just like to check this second box here in this middle section, faces with more than 4 sides. That's the area that I care about the most. And so I'll just press apply, and it will highlight in orange any faces that I have with more than 4 sides. It looks like I got a little shocking that this is my area of bad geometry. Who would have ever guessed? And so here what I'm going to do is it shows me, it highlighted orange the area that was a problem, and I can already see the area that's a problem there. So you just, it highlighted it orange. I knew that somewhere in here was the area where I was having too many vertices. And so here, I'm going to delete that vertice. And what I can do here is, so I just had a stray vertice where I used the multi-cut tool, and I must have been a little sloppy with it. So here I'll press apply again and just see if there's still a problem. So that fixed it. I just deleted one vertice, and that worked because I went back to object mode, and I pressed fix with any faces with more than 4 sides, and I pressed apply. I'll do it again just to show, and I might have to think for a second. And when I look at the model, it doesn't have any orange areas. And so one super important thing about that, the mesh cleanup, is the way that Maya cleans it up is terrible. I just use it, it highlights orange and it tries to fix it for you, but the way Maya fixes it is usually pretty bad. And so what I do is I check my mesh by doing the mesh cleanup, and then I see which areas are highlighted orange, and then I'll zoom in there, and either by deleting vertices or edges or using the multi-cut tool, I'll fix whatever area has more than 5 sides. Okay, so now I have this mesh attached here, and normally I would just kind of go in and clean this up in the back of the ear a little bit because that mesh is too jaggedy. We want things to kind of flow. And so, yes, I keep that in mind. And I'm going to do a whole video demo that goes over repairing meshes and cleaning up meshes. And so I'll save that lesson for that particular video. The last step I need to do here is I just need to, with the whole object selected of the head, I'll go over to Mesh and then Mirror over the geometry. And as kind of like a last step, I'll just select the head again, and I'll just do the mesh cleanup option again, just to make sure that when I mirrored it, no funny business happened here. And sometimes it will give you some orange areas in there from the mesh cleanup that weren't there before. And what I would say to that is I would edit undo the mirror and check your mirror options, so mesh mirror options, and just make sure that your options are looking okay in here, and maybe try it again, kind of maybe switching between the automatic and custom perhaps. Sometimes if it's on whichever one Maya doesn't want at that moment, that can cause some 5-sided faces and things like that. And so from here, this model is watertight, and I have on my layers, I have my eyes in here, and other than kind of cleaning up the back of the ear, this thing's ready to go into Mudbox.